All right, everybody, welcome back to the channel. So the question of the day is, who's a better player between Kevin Durant and Larry Bird? Now, I know some people might think, what type of question is that? Larry Bird can't do nothing with Kevin Durant. He can't guard him. Larry Bird couldn't play in this era, so on and so forth, whatever. To me, this is a real debate. This is a real good conversation between who's a better player out of these two. A lot of people don't really understand how great of a player Larry Bird is. And for those who don't already know, I made a video on Larry Bird, months ago. And the title was Larry Bird Couldn't Play Today with a question mark. And I knew that would draw people in because, people that saw Larry Bird play, they know how great of a player he was. So I thought this would be a good conversation, a good discussion on who's a better small forward. These are two of the greatest small forwards in NBA history, and they both brought a lot to the table, and they definitely stood out in their era. But the first thing I want to talk about, speaking of eras, is, people underestimate the competition Larry Bird went against. Now, we know KD. We know he went against great small forwards like LeBron. Of course, we know about Kawhi Leonard. Earlier on, you had Paul Pierce, prime Carmelo Anthony. But the list of great small forwards in Larry Bird's era is very lengthy. Of course, we have Dr. J in the early 80s, who he went back and forth with. In the mid to late 80s, you had Dominique Wilkins. You also had James Worthy. You also had to go against Alex English, who was one of the top scorers in his era. You had Adrian Dantley and Mark Aguirre. And of course, an all-time great underrated scorer, Bernard King. All those players I just mentioned had many seasons averaging over 20, 25 points per game in the 80s. They were all more athletic, faster, could jump higher than Larry Bird. But Larry Bird was better than all of them. As a matter of fact, Larry Bird, for really at least half of the 80s, he was considered, at least arguably, and a lot of times definitively, the best player in his era, like overall, not just position, but overall. Now, we know KD in the 2010s, he's been arguably the best player for a while now. I don't know if he's ever been definitively the best player, but he's definitely been in that category. Of course, he had to combat against LeBron James for that title many years, and now we have other players like Giannis, even players like Steph Curry, Kawhi, etc. So, but both of these players have definitely been one of the top players, if not the top player in their era. Larry Bird, what he has over Kevin Durant is, number one, he's a 3-time MVP. He won 3 consecutive MVPs in his era. Now, as I said in the Larry Bird video I did, he's the only player in the modern era, meaning when the NBA and ABA merged together, he's the only player that has ever done that, to win 3 consecutive MVPs. Kevin Durant has only won 1 MVP. Larry Bird was the first player to go 50, 40, 90, meaning 50% overall from the field, 40% from 3, and 90% from the foul line. He did that twice. KD has done that once himself. So when it comes to pure shooting ability, both these players are in the same class. They both are sharp shooters. KD, to his credit, he is a 4-time scoring leader. And this year, if he keeps going like he's been going, he might get a 5th one, which would be 3rd all-time behind Michael Jordan and Wilt Chamberlain. So he's one of the elite level scorers, but so is Larry Bird. Now, Larry Bird never led the league in scoring, but he's been in the top 5 many times. And overall as a player, I just believe, to me, he brings more to the table. What KD has over Larry Bird is he's a greater athlete, he's more explosive. He has more in his bag when it comes to ball handling. And overall dribbling capabilities has increased as time has gone on. There's no doubt about it. Today's players have a greater face-up game than players in the past. I think back in the day, the game was more about the post-up game, but Larry Bird, to his credit, had a very good handle. Not a great handle, but a very good handle as well. He had a great behind-the-back dribble. He was great. He had a great step back. Of course, he was great in the post. KD, to his credit, he can post up as well. Both of them have great touch. Larry Bird had a great right and left hand floater and could finish with either hand around the rim. So Larry Bird's scoring is definitely comparable to KD, but I would give KD the slight edge just off of explosiveness and just he has more of a package overall. But I'll say this, though. To me, Larry Bird was better at just about everything else. Larry Bird was a player who averaged 10 rebounds per game throughout his entire career as a small forward. That's what Larry Bird did. Larry Bird was a better rebounder than Kevin Durant. He was a better passer. Now, of course, Larry Bird only averaged 6.5 assists for his career. But that really does not even describe how great of a passer Larry Bird was. You really have to look at Larry Bird's highlight tapes to understand what his passing capabilities were like. He's right up there. In terms of non-point guards, he's up there with anybody. I promise you, he's on the same level as a player like LeBron, Nikola Jokic, you name it. Larry Bird had great court vision, great court awareness. Now, when it comes to defense, I will say this. So when it comes to defense, I will say Kevin Durant, he would probably get the edge over Larry Bird as a one-on-one defender, but as an overall defender, I'm not even sure if I can edge him out over Larry Bird, because Larry Bird not only was a pretty good one-on-one defender, he was also a great help defender as well. And by the way, this is something I didn't know, but I actually heard Skip Bayless say this one time when he was comparing Larry Bird to LeBron. Larry Bird led the league in defensive win shares 4 times, which is a way they evaluate your impact, like for your team when you're on the floor compared to when you're off the floor. They do like a point differential between how much your team can score or how much your team allows the other team to score compared to when you're on and off the floor. So Larry Bird had the highest rating based off that metric 4 times, and Kevin Durant has never even done that 1 time. Not to mention Larry Bird made the all-defensive second team 3 times. So he was very underrated in the defensive category. So overall, as a player, I would still give the edge to Larry Bird. And even based on accomplishments, I would give the edge to Larry Bird. Larry Bird is a 3-time champion. Of course, KD has won 2. And who knows, he might win more. But we'll wait and see until that time before I make a decision about him moving up past Larry Bird. Right now, I have KD as number 3 all-time for small forwards, and Larry Bird's number 2. And of course, LeBron would be number 1. So that's my evaluation on the comparison between these 2 players. I hope you guys did enjoy the video, and I hope you guys learned a lot. And I thank you again, everybody that's been supporting my channel. Everybody have a blessed day. All glory be to God.